Hello there, Geminis. Welcome to your reading. So I hope this video finds you well, and thank you so much for joining me. When I was shuffling out this spread, I saw quite an interesting image. So let me relay that to you first, and then we'll go through the rest of the cards, okay? I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a muddled month. First of all, we're dealing with some retrograde energy, and from the beginning of the month, especially the first week, things are going to feel a little bit muddled, and things are going to be calling for your sense of, decision making. And I feel like you are kind of forced, or you feel compelled to make decisions, but it might not be the time to make these decisions. So I would say if you can wait until, the 11th, after the 15th of the month even, when we head into calmer waters, for you to feel a little bit more certain about the decisions that you're going to make. Okay, so that's just, I guess, to preface this reading, I feel like I just need to mention Mercury retrograde, because I'm getting that energy of Mercury retrograde for all the signs that I've done readings for. And I feel like, especially for you, it does affect you and Virgos the most, because, Mercury is your ruling planet. And what you have to do is kind of sit still and mull over the decision, especially the big, important decisions that you're making. And try to wait until mid-month, when the Mercury retrograde period has calmed down and you have all the information at your disposal, before you go ahead with a specific course of action. The image that I saw was a little bit strange, so let me just talk about that. So first of all, I see this iron gate, okay? It looks like it's in a garden. It's been like worn by weather. It's a little bit rusty. It makes noise when it moves about, and I feel like there's a latch keeping the two parts of the gate in place. Okay, it's like a very simple latching mechanism, and it's a very old gate. And you can kind of see through it, and right behind it is a path kind of like leading up to higher ground. And there are like stones and trees and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a worn out path that not a lot of people, that has been neglected, and not a lot of people use this path. So then it's kind of gated off, okay? And then in front of the gate, what I see is like water rising towards the gate. So I feel like it might be a flooding situation, or whatever it is. The water is like slowly rising, and getting to the very bottom of the gate. It's like touching the bottom. And I feel like I see the water coming and then receding and then coming, and soon that motion creates waves, and the waves are getting a little bit stronger and stronger, and then it's crashing again against the gate, and then it recedes, and then it comes back and it crashes a little bit harder against the gate. And so the little latch in between the gate, what I feel is it's loosening up. Okay, it's like the resistance is wearing off, is loosening up, and then later on there's this bigger, like a bigger wave crashing against the gate, and the gate kind of unhinges and it swings open. And at that point, the path, that whatever the path was that the gate was blocking, it's now accessible. And when I saw this image, I was thinking immediately, well, the water is rising, and you need to get to safer ground. You need to get to higher ground. You need to get somewhere where you're not going to be pummeled by the waves or pummeled by the water. And this gate, is blocking your way, and now it's like in a dire circumstance. Situation has worked in your favor, and it's blocking, or it's blasting through this wave or this gate, and now you're able to see that path that is ahead of you, and you can take that path and get to higher ground so that you're safe. Okay, so first of all, I just want to say that when I saw this image, I was thinking a lot more about like doors opening when there's extreme pressure. Okay, it's sort of like, I feel almost as if it's kind of like a last resort. It's something that we have to resort to, even though we didn't want to, even though we didn't think it was possible. For whatever reason, circumstances beyond our control or natural disasters or whatever the circumstance might be in your life, I feel like something is being swung open, a door swinging open, a new path that's laid out in front of you, and it's laid out of necessity. Okay, so I feel like for the month of March, this concept of things having to be done out of necessity is coming through. For whatever reason, you might have avoided, this situation. You might have avoided because you thought it was going to go one way, you thought the situation was bad, or you thought like there was no way to repair a situation, and you thought that there was only one path, or you avoided a specific course of action because you didn't think it would yield the result that you wanted. And for whatever reason, circumstances beyond your control is forcing you to pursue a specific path. And then you realize that, you know what, it's not so bad, right? Because once again, it's a path that's leading you to higher ground, where you have a better vantage point, where you have safety, where you have a drier area where you can, thrive. So I do feel here that there was a situation and you might have been indecisive about, and I feel like you might have avoided it. You might not have wanted to deal with it. And for the month of March, something is coming in to kind of force you to address the situation. It's kind of like water's literally at your doorstep. And when it's at our doorstep, we just feel like wherever we are, the status quo is no longer stable or is no longer dependable. And so we have to, make contingency plans. We have to resort to that one choice or that one decision that we didn't feel like we wanted to make. And in the process of being forced to go that route or to take that specific course of action, you're realizing that it might be in your best interest and that, things might not even be that bad. Okay. So I feel like that's what it seems like the month of March is for me. It's like a path that is created out of a sense of necessity. Okay. It needed to be done. And for whatever reason, it wasn't viable in the past, but now the timing, the circumstances are culminating in such a way where that's the most viable path, or that is the only path. Okay. So I'm going to go back to that image in a little bit. I want to talk about a few more energies that are coming through in the spread, because I feel like you have a lot to work with here. Okay. First of all, the card that you have here is literally the Magician. And this is somebody who conjures something out of nothing, conjuring things out of thin air. This is somebody who's very gifted with creating things, manipulating energies, and I feel like, manifesting, bringing something into existence that did not exist before. And so this is a card about mastery. It's somebody who has a lot of skills, and this is what I normally associate with like a Gemini person. They have a lot of hobbies, a lot of skills, the gift of the gab, being able to persuade other people to do, their bidding. And especially being, I feel like, you're verbose, but you're also very, very persuasive. And so there's a lot of skills, there's a lot of knowledge, and there's a lot of wisdom embedded in this card. And I feel like for many of you, there are a lot of talents that you possess, and you're not really sure which direction to go when it comes to, using your talents to make money, or even using your talents to, it's sort of like having to choose between, different talents or different skill sets or different interests and trying to make a career out of it. Or even like having so many things that you're interested in, you don't know what to tackle first. Or I also feel like, having so many different jobs that you're interested in, that you're capable of doing, that you're qualified for, and you don't even know which one to apply for. So I feel like there are a lot of options here. There are a lot of choices, and you're grappling between the many choices that are at your disposal, because they all seem really attractive choices. Okay, so I feel like in a career type of a way, in a life path type of a way, you might have a lot of options and you're not really sure which one to go forward with. Okay, we have here as well the Three of Cups, and the Three of Cups is all about options and choices. This is a very celebratory card, but in this deck, the way that it's sort of like spinning in circles, it's about indecisiveness. It's about wanting the option that stands out from the rest, wanting something like specific, and wanting something that encapsulates all of these things that you're really interested in, wanting to find that one thing that meets all the criteria. And as a result of it, you're kind of like not really making a decision, or you're kind of not choosing amongst all these options because you're waiting for something that will encapsulate or that will have all of these elements that you love before you can really commit to it. Okay, so I feel like it is a situation where you're maintaining like neutrality. Okay, it's like not taking action, remaining very, very neutral, still assessing a situation and prolonging the decision making process because you don't want to make the wrong move, you don't want to make the wrong choice. You feel like you want a sign, you want a signal, you want something to indicate to you there is a choice that is best out of those options, and just so that you're sure what you're getting yourself into is the best optimal outcome. I feel for many of you, this is like work related, and I do feel like you're at a point where you've mastered your craft. Okay, some of you might have started a new job and you feel like, you know, I know what I'm doing now. I feel like I've already met the threshold, or you know, have hit that limit, and I'm not learning anymore. I'm looking for a new opportunity. I'm scanning the horizon for greener pastures. I'm trying to see if there's another option that is a better fit out there. You might be, you know, looking at other opportunities, creative ventures even, for you to get yourself involved in. Some of you have already mastered the work that you're in. You might have been in it for quite some time, and I feel like the routine, the monotony, it's no longer exciting, it's no longer fun. You feel like you're just going around in circles and you're kind of spinning your wheels, and also, you know, it's like that cycle, the monotony, it's over and over and over again. It's very repetitive. And so you don't feel like it's challenging anymore. You don't feel that you're growing or learning as much anymore. And so you're thinking about other options that might be on the table for you, or you're even thinking of looking for more opportunities that might be out there. With the Three of Cups, I normally think of this as options that are just kind of like given to you. Somebody might tell you, you know, here's an opportunity here, here's an organization I'm looking at, here's a think tank, here's a like a nonprofit organization or an NGO that I'm exploring. So I feel like they're bringing you ideas and you're trying to figure out, and I feel like all of these ideas seem very attractive, seem very enticing, but so it's not like they're dull ideas or dull options. They're just very enticing, and you don't know which one you want to settle with, or you don't know which one you want to apply for, or you might be applying for all of them and trying to figure out, you know, what's going to come in first. What's going to be the first place that picks me up? I also feel in some regards, this could be, you know, options when it comes to love and romantic relationships. Having a lot of suitors, having a lot of people kind of like, I literally feel like wrapped around your fingers, okay? And I don't feel like this is leading somebody on or being like, or being, I guess, deceitful with people. I don't get that, not with this combination. But I just feel like these options are great, and you're trying to figure out, you know, who's the most compatible, or who's the most, or who's the best option for me. or, you know, who's like the most viable long-term prospect. So you're looking for signs, you're looking for like signals to indicate to you who is going to be the best option, or what is going to be the best option, what's going to stand out from the crowd, and what's going to be the most viable person or job or thing or location or whatever it is. I feel like you're choosing from amongst a bunch of very good options, okay, which is a really good place to be, because we want options and we want choices, and we also want, you know, full access to information. So I feel like you're still in a situation where you're reassessing. And then I also feel for others of you, there's a lot of especially if you're in publishing, okay, and I think I might have mentioned this last month, I can't remember. But if you're in publishing, if you're in any type of like situation where you're kind of marketing yourself, so like if you're a writer, if you're a singer, if you're a performer, and you kind of have to sell, I don't want to say sell yourself, that sounds terrible, but you have to promote yourself in some capacity, I feel like you've already got it, okay? And you have multiple people that might be vying for you to either sign on with them for a book deal, for example, sign on with them for like a specific art project, sign on with them for a performance, sign on with them for like a record deal, whatever it is. I do sense that you have the options at your disposal. And I feel like you're mulling over this decision. And because decision making is coming out so early on in the spread, I would urge you to wait until the 15th of the month, when we are completely out of the Mercury shadow period, before you make any decisions that have long-term ramifications, okay? So sit still, mull it over, really assess and ruminate over these choices that are kind of like at your feet before you decide what to go ahead with, okay? Because I feel like there might be more information that is revealed, okay? And I feel like whoever, if it's like a job or if it's like a love interest, I feel like there's an energy of somebody who's a little bit controlling. They might want you to be at their beck and call, for example. They might want you to curb your creative flair to do things exactly the way that they want. And these things might not be revealed to you until, you know, until we progress through like that first week of March. And you might have a little bit more information about this person's either their personality or their intentions, or their affinity to be a little bit controlling. And so if they're showing that aspect of themselves, it might rule out, or it might be like an indicator to you that this might not be a viable option for you, either in work, in somebody who's either, you know, you're working under, who's managing you, or even like a potential relationship partner, okay? So these things are going to start to show up, and I feel like it's going to be very subtle. But if you have like a lot of good options to choose from, you want to choose from the best. So the qualities revealed about this person in particular might be a little bit unsavory, and it'll make you reassess your decision, okay? So leave those big decisions until after the 15th, when we have Mercury going direct and we are out of that Mercury retrograde shadow period for you to make these important decisions, all right? So I also feel here, I'm seeing two people, and I feel like there is either like a compromise or a conversation that has been had, okay? I feel like one person is spinning their wheels and the other person is trying to keep the relationship together. That's what it feels like to me. And I want to talk about these two cards. Three of Cups, once again, spinning your wheels, and the Chariot, trying to find direction. So I feel like this is a relationship, okay? This is somebody that you have a little bit of power struggle with, okay? And your energy here is the Magician. This is someone who's like very creative, okay? This is like the Gemini energy. It's someone who's very creative, who takes life very lightly, okay? And who they just want to have fun. They just want to have a good time, and they go through life in a very lighthearted, in a very like flamboyant manner. It's like the social butterfly. And then we have the Emperor, and the Emperor, just feel the weight of this person. It's all about duty and responsibility, and it's all about, you know, control, and it's all about like everything is very, very serious. So I feel like opposing energies between you as the Magician and whoever it is that you're dealing with as the Emperor. So this is someone who could, you know, in your eyes, they could be a little bit of a Debbie Downer. They're too serious for their own good, and they approach life in a very methodical, in a very serious way. And a lot of the times they don't really know how to lighten up. They don't really know how to take a joke. And I feel like it's hard for you to communicate with this person. You want to joke around, but they take offense to the things that might be said. And then at the same time, I feel like they're all like either very work oriented, and there's nothing else in their life, or they just really don't know how to have fun, or whenever you're around them, you just feel the weight of responsibility, okay? So there is a little bit of power struggle here, and let me talk a little bit about that, and I'll talk about the rest of the cards in a little bit. So one person here feels like they're carrying the weight of the relationship. They're trying to move the situation along, and I feel like they understand that the two of you are very different, that it requires a lot of compromise, that it requires a lot of like give and take, and, you know, working with each other as a unit. And then I feel like the other person, and I feel like it's more your energy. So they're all about responsibility and, you know, getting from point A to point B. They're very, very serious minded. And then I also feel like the seriousness is in everything that they do. It's not just in relationships, it's in life, it's in work, it's in their family life, it's in their interpersonal relationship, it's in the way they discipline their mind. And so this person is just very methodical. They're trying to find the fastest route from point A to point B. And I feel like, you know, you don't mind if your life path meanders. You don't mind taking detours. You don't mind taking unexpected pit stops. You don't mind to, you know, like for you, it's not so much about the destination. It's more about the journey. And so the two of you philosophically are coming at life from like a different perspective. And as a result of it, it is very difficult to move together as a unit, to like work together as a unit. So once again, I just feel like this person doesn't want to lose control, okay? And I feel like it has a lot, it's not like a personality flaw. I think like it's more of a survival mechanism for them. This is something they've had to do at a very young age, and it was very survival oriented. And as a result of that, they take life very seriously. You know, they mean what they say, and they do what they promise. And so they're very stable, they're very trustworthy, and very reliant. And so they have some amazing, really good qualities about them. And then I feel like they expect you to be a certain way, and you feel almost like you have to change yourself, or you have to cater, or you have to like be something that you're not in order to move this relationship along. I also feel like they're making, they're expecting things from you, or expecting you to be a certain way, or expecting you to step up, or expecting you to chip in, or expecting you to move the relationship in a specific way, or even expecting you to put in the work so that the two of you, so that they feel like things are fair, or so that they feel like the two of you are, I guess, like on the same boat, or they feel like the two of you are headed in the same direction. So that's what I'm feeling here. I feel like somebody is kind of like tightening the reins in your life and wanting you to either behave a specific way, or wanting you to do what they expect from you, or wanting you to behave in a way that they expect. Okay, and I do sense that the weight of the responsibility that they're putting on you, it can feel a little bit restrictive. Okay, and so going back to that message or the image that I saw about, you know, a new path being created out of necessity. Okay, I feel like it pertains to this situation here where one person is almost like a disciplinarian and the other person just wants to, just might want to rebel just for the sake of rebellion. Okay, and so I feel like one person wants to live without responsibility and the other person is all about responsibility. And so the two people can't really see eye to eye, can't really work together as a unit, might have a lot of arguments and disagreements over these two, philosophical ideals. And it's really hard to work as a unit when you don't really agree on these things. And then I feel like one person is resentful that the other person is like almost authoritative. And then the other person is kind of resentful that the other person is a little bit too frivolous, too carefree, too like, possibly like prone to procrastination. Okay. And so what's happening here is I do see, no matter what, the two of you are going to be able, you're going to need to, but I feel like there's going to be some type of a closing of the cycle of this perpetual, the disciplinarian and the other person wanting to rebel. Okay, so it's not so much a role reversal, but I'm starting to see a situation where the two of you are coming around to one another. And I feel like a lot of it has to do with external pressure in your environment. So whatever is coming in, there might be additional pressures put or imposed upon the both of you, and you have to work together as a unit. It's like out of necessity, you have to work together as a unit. You have to learn how to navigate each other's energy. And in the process of being forced or having, imposed upon, and you have to work together, you're starting to realize that, their sense of responsibility and their reliance is really, I guess, like their stability, their reliance, and the way in which they can be counted on. I feel that you're starting to admire that quality. And then at the same time, they're looking at you and they're thinking your creativity, your ability to, be flexible and to be malleable and to kind of like roll with the punches and be spontaneous. It's very admirable. So you're starting to see merits in one another. And as a result of it, out of that sense of necessity of having to work together, the two of you are able to overcome your differences in order to, move along together without creating friction. Okay? So I feel for most of you, this is like a relationship where, because of hardships, because of necessity, because of whatever is imposed upon the relationship from the external environment, it's like the pressure is on. Now we need to work together. Now we need to hash things out. Now we need to find solution. And as a result of it, that you have to come together and you have to learn to get along. And in the process of getting along, I feel like you're starting to realize that, there's strength in numbers, there's safety in numbers as well. And that because the two of you are so different, that creatively solving problems together will lead you to a better optimal solution. Okay. Hence that door, pressure needs to be exerted on that gate in order for it to swing open and to create a new path for you. So I feel like you've reached some type of an epiphany, like an awakening, a reassessment or a realignment with another person. And it's helping the situation move along in a smoother way. All right. So for some of you, I feel like this could be, in a work situation. And sometimes we meet somebody and for whatever reason, we feel like we don't really jive well with them. Just energetically, we just feel like we're out of sync with the other person. And then you might have somebody like that at your work environment. And I feel like this might be indicative of a work situation where you might not have gotten along, but out of necessity, you have to work together. And you realize that, that person is actually pretty great. They're reliable. They're a man or a woman of their word. They get down to business. They get things done. They're very proactive. They take charge. They have great leadership qualities. They're not a tyrant, and they're actually very reliable. And so I feel like these qualities, you're starting to admire and see these really, really good qualities about the other person. Okay, so this is where you are now. So for the month of March, we have here the World and the Ace of Cups. So these are really amazing cards. The Ace of Cups is about new beginnings when it comes to your emotional state. And this is usually like brand new love or feeling that sense of emotional satisfaction. Okay. The World is about publishing. It's about getting recognition. It's about like creative projects as well being brought forth into the world. So for many of you, I feel especially actors, artists, singers, or even people who are in the fine arts, performing arts, I feel like you're getting a lot of recognition for the work that you bring forth, okay? Especially in the creative field. Especially like people landing gigs like in television, landing gigs as like I'm hearing like a news anchor. Okay, so if you're in communication, in radio, or even like a TV personality, I feel like you're landing your role. You're landing a really, really good gig, and you're landing something that will bring you a lot of visibility. So I don't know if the money is there, but I definitely feel like the visibility is there. You're going to be in the limelight, and I feel that it's going to open a lot of new avenues for you, like new contacts, new ways to do things. So for example, if you're a voice actor, you might venture into like theater, musical, or even, TV acting. Okay, if you've been working behind the scenes as a voice actor or even as an animator, you're going to go to those, what are those, like they're similar to like Comic-Con, symposium, or even panel discussions, and you're going to be in the limelight. So I feel like you're coming out behind the scenes and moving into the limelight. So people are going to recognize your face, they're going to recognize your name, and there's a lot of like visibility associated with you for the month of March. Once again, with public image, it comes with a lot of scrutiny, of course. People can't always be happy with what you have to say, but just because there's so much visibility, you want to be a little bit careful, especially the first 2 weeks of the month, to be careful with the messages that you're trying to convey. Make sure you take the time to over-explain and to thoroughly explain yourself, so that things don't get misconstrued, okay? And then things don't get taken out of context. So make sure you over-explain. Okay, and then just be mindful about what you say and how you portray yourself in a public setting, because I feel like all eyes are on you and there's a lot of visibility. And whenever I see a lot of visibility, I always think of it being a double-edged sword, because it can also come with a lot of public scrutiny. Okay. What I'm also feeling as well is, I mentioned before, some of you have options and choices, and you're trying to narrow down this option. And I do feel with the Ace of Cups, this is like a great love. Okay, this is like a relationship that is, I feel like it's kind of like falling in love with a person. So I feel for many of you, there's somebody here and they're definitely attached to this cluster right here. So the way this person is, we have the World, and the World usually indicates someone who's very well traveled. Okay, someone who's been around the globe, who might be a globetrotter, and somebody who's very aware when it comes to like current events, history, international affairs, somebody who like knows what's going on with the world, someone who's not just wrapped up in themselves and their street, their city, their block, their family. They're very worldly. They understand what's going on out there in the world. They have traveled, they have dealt with people from foreign backgrounds, and so it's somebody that has like a myriad of stories, anecdotes, and information to share. So this is somebody who's actually very up your alley, because I feel like communication flows really well between the two of you, and I feel like you spark off each other in a really good way. They are very inspiring to be with. So I feel like you've got somebody in your corner here who's a very good match for you. Okay. What I'm feeling is, I feel like one person is like really magical, and then the other person is a little bit intimidated. And I feel like the person who's intimidated is very shy. And so in order to mask their shyness, they're putting on kind of like a tough air. And rather than I guess like acting like they're very impressed, like, wow, you did that, or you went there, or you lived there, or you speak that language. One person is like playing it off like they're not impressed. They're going to ask follow-up questions, but they're playing it off like they're not impressed. So I feel like you're dealing with somebody who might be a little bit standoffish, or who might like pretend like they're not interested, or who might be intimidated. And in the process of being intimidated, they feel a little bit uncomfortable, and so they kind of toughen up, and then they act a little bit like aloof, or in order to mask their shyness, they put on like a tough facade. Okay, so don't let that fool you. I feel like this person is also very much interested. It's just the way that they hide or mask their emotion, because they do want to be in control. And I feel the person might be this character here, the Emperor. This is someone who's very serious. I just get a very, very serious vibe with this person. They could be male or female. It doesn't even matter. It's like a hard, they've got a hard exterior, like a hard shell. They're all about business. They're all about responsibility. They're all about, they're just very serious minded. And with this world energy, they could also be very well traveled. And I usually think of this as like somebody who's like outside of your type. Okay, it's somebody that you never would have found attractive in the past, but for whatever reason, they're out of the norm. They're out of the norm in terms of who you date, or who you find attractive, who you would find attractive, or the type that you normally go for. So I feel like there is somebody here that is really catching your attention. And I also feel like there's an escalation, like taking a relationship to the next level. And then I also feel like you might be narrowing down your options, or you are trying to, put someone through some tests, and you're realizing that the two of you work really well together, or as a unit, the two of you have the same goals, have the same ideals, even though you might be from very different walks of life. Even though personality-wise you're very different, but the two of you work together really well as a unit. So this is the Chariot card, and the Chariot card, you have these two fish going in different directions, and it requires the will of God in order to move them in the right direction, so that they're not working at cross purposes with each other, so that they can, inch along or move along in the same direction. So I feel like there's something here where the two of you might just be as stubborn, where the two of you might butt heads like ideologically, but for whatever reason, you find that the two of you ultimately work well together, and that I guess regardless of the differences, you have the same ideologies to a certain extent, and you realize that you can move forward together. Okay. And then I also feel like there's something here about what I'm seeing is like I have two people here, and they didn't understand each other before. One person was too firm, and then the other person was too wishy-washy. One person was too like serious, and then the other person was too non-committal. And so there might have been like a repulsion, but for whatever reason, you're starting to see eye to eye. You're starting to admire certain qualities about each other, and you're starting to understand each other a little bit more, which allows this to happen, which allows the two of you to really, understand each other and like each other, and for a relationship to form. Okay. So I'm looking at these four cards independently. So some of you are dealing with this, and I feel like by the end of the month, we have a few more things here. I feel like for many of you, we have some really good news that are coming through, and I'm hearing like really good news, but also very unexpected from a very unexpected source. Okay, I do feel there's like blast from the past, like an ex or somebody who, you know, just disappear from your life, and all of a sudden there is comeback. So I feel like when this person comes in, there is potentially, we have Page of Cups here, and I usually think of this as like an apology. Somebody trying to reach out in a very shy way. They don't know how to break the ice. They don't know how to approach you. They don't know what to say. They're at a loss for words, and it's like it's somebody who's really shy, and they're very fearful of rejection. So when they make when they want to reach out and communicate, they want to make sure that they choose their words very carefully so that you will respond, because, you know, turning them down or not responding, it would really hurt them. So this is somebody who has a very fragile ego, and I feel like in their shyness, they're coming in either with an apology or even to reach out, and then eventually they're trying to test the water to see how you feel before they can, you know, offer the apology. I have the Judgment card, and I feel like this is going to happen very quickly, very swiftly. And when this person comes in, I feel like you're going to be at a loss for words as to what to say. It's going to be very unexpected, because once again, the Judgment card is contact, communication, but the way that it happens, it's very unexpected. So I do have this coming through, especially the latter part of March. It could be like around March 15th all the way until like the 22nd. That's what I'm feeling strongly. But I do sense here, it's a situation that you might have closed the cycle on already. Like in your mind, in your heart, you might have already physically just released and let go of. And so when this communication comes in, it is very unexpected, and you might not know what to do with this information. I also feel for many of you, you might have moved on with someone else, and they might energetically feel that you've moved on, and then they're trying to reach out for communication just to kind of like pull you back. I don't feel it's malicious, or I don't feel like it's intentional to kind of like, you know, cause a rift between you and your new person. I just feel like energetically, there might have been things that needed to be cleared up between the two of you, or there might have been like longing from their end to kind of apologize or something like that. And so when they feel that energetically you've pulled away because you have someone new, or you are just pulling away from them, I feel like they're reaching out to try to reconnect, to try to open up that channel of communication. Okay. Once again, I'm getting that it's sort of like things have to get bad in order for this person to realize that they needed to make amends. They needed to reach out. So it's sort of like, you know, that doorway will open when there's pressure exerted. Okay. So in that way, I feel like, you know, the pressure, the water at you, literally at your doorstep or at their doorstep, those things need to happen. Those circumstances need to be ideal for them. Like the pressure needs to be there for them to budge, for them to make a move, for them to move a situation along. Okay, so you might have been waiting for communication from this person for quite some time, but the pressure needed to be exerted from their end, or needed to be exerted on them in order for them to see that they needed to be the one to make the move. All right. And at the very end, we have some really good, amazing cards. We have here the Six of Wands and the Page of Pentacles. Career-wise, this is a very good indicator that there's like, you know, for those who are looking for jobs, for gigs, for projects, even for financiers, if you have like a project and you're looking for somebody to fund the project, or if you have like an idea and you need a sponsor, these are cards that indicate there's backers, supporters, people working behind the scenes in order to give you either the monetary support or even just the verbal support, or even just the emotional support. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of like boosting up happening behind the scenes. The Six of Wands is about a victory. This is pretty much, you know, getting the recognition, getting the accolades, having that spotlight shining on you where you're getting a lot of attention. And the Page of Pentacles, for those of you, for example, who are looking for work, I feel like there's a job offer coming through. And with the Page of Pentacles, it's not like a magnificent, you know, life-changing and type of a job where there's a lot of money involved. I feel like this is kind of like, let's say, for example, if you're working on a contract basis, right? Somebody might tell you, hey, I have a project. You can work on it for 3 months. I'll pay you like 50% up front and 50% at the end of the project. So it's sort of like a retainer fee or something that is, there's money involved. It's not a huge sum of money, but it's a moderately good amount, okay? And then I also feel training opportunities to travel in order to train, opportunities for even giving out training sessions to people, or being the one to facilitate some type of training. Okay, so you have some really, really good things here that indicate you will be in the spotlight, and there will be financial, you know, windfall, or even jobs, or even short-term gigs, or even like whatever it is that relates to work and career and projects and things that you want to undertake. You have a lot of blessings coming in that regards. All right. So I know this video is a little bit long. I'm trying to keep all the videos at like 35 minutes maximum, but you have a lot of positive things coming through. Once again, delay these major decisions until possibly, you know, the 15th of the month if you can, so that you have a lot more information. I feel that will be coming in the second week of March, and you need to kind of sit still until that information comes in, and it will reveal to you what the optimal outcome for you is going to be before you make that decision. All right. Once again, for those who are still emailing me, I'm no longer doing private readings. I do have a link in the description box below for a psychic. Her name is Bridget, and she's based out of California. So if you're looking for guidance, I highly recommend that you book a reading with her. I also have a link in the description box below for an artist. She's based out of California, and she does like alcohol-based painting on canvas and also on different mediums. So if you're interested in artwork, you can commit